Welcome to Wales for the Triathlon Guard long course weekend. With first-class competition in a beautiful setting, it's a three-day festival that's become one of the highlights of the Swim, Bike, Run Summer.
The event started here in Tenby a few years ago and has fast grown into a global franchise with other events in Australia and Mallorca. But with the stunning temperature setting and the legendary local support, Long Course Weekend Wales will always provide something special. Day one, the Wales Swim, right here on Tenby's North Beach, a 2.4-mile Friday night blast. Day two is the Wales Sportif, 112 miles of cycling on a course that's both beautiful and brutal, and competitors have got to give everything. A good performance there will set them up for the final stage, the Wales Marathon. A tough course. The man and the woman with the lowest cumulative scores across the weekend will be crowned champions. Stage one on Friday focuses on Tenby itself as thousands gather for the Wales Swim and thousands more gather to watch. Here's your commentator Patrick Winterton with the details.
The green fields of Caldy Island giving away the fact that this part of the world gets more than its fair share of rain, but today the conditions are perfect. There's just a little breeze setting up a small ripple on the sea that will please many of the swimmers, and Tenby is looking its colourful best. All the houses painted for those postcards, the moorings are full, and the town is very much in bloom and the place to be. Tenby Castle and the statue of Prince Albert high on Castle Hill that overlooks St Catherine's Fort, and that was built to stop the potential invasion from Napoleon, but it hasn't stopped thousands of triathletes invading this weekend. And we're going to get the long course weekend underway with the traditional TAC Kids event, which is short, it's sharp, it's very achievable, but it's still a big boost to the enthusiasm of the young triathletes in this part of the world, and always puts a smile on their mothers' faces as they work their way round the course. Not exactly a swim, but it's a dip in the sea. And of course, the medals handed out to every single one of them. Well, the first stage of the long course weekend incorporates the Wales Swim. It's a standalone open water event that can be entered by anyone. And it is held on Tenby's North Beach. There's a 1.2-mile option as well, just one lap of the course in a clockwise direction. And for those going the full 2.4 miles, that means an Australian exit. They come out of the water round Goscar Rock and back onto the course for a second time. Now, as always, there are plenty of specialist swimmers here for the Wales Swim, and they'll be mixing it with the triathletes. Sophie Evans, very good athlete indeed. Jazz Carling, two-time silver medalist in the 400 and the 800 metres in Rio, and she should be able to set the pace.
But obviously, being Welsh and representing Wales, it's always so special to me. So to come back here, I've obviously seen a lot of videos and it always looks like such a great event. So I've always thought I'd really want to be a part of it. So now's the time, and what a day for it. I'm really looking forward to it.
So amongst the thousands here to take part in one of the country's most spectacular and best supported swimming events, those long course weekend athletes, 3 days, 3 events, all iron distance. And it starts on the Friday evening with the swim. 2.4 miles, 3.86 kilometres.
Are you expecting big things?
I'd like to complete the swim, get round the bike and do a good run, and I'll be happy.
How long have you trained for this?
Since March.
Yeah, about the same, 4 or 5 months, yeah.
There's a lot riding on this then?
Not really, I'm just here to have a good swim, should be fun.
former hockey international, now pro triathlete on a comeback. It's Parris Edwards here to have a good weekend.
This is simply the best event. You know, tonight we do the swim. There's 2,000 swimmers. It's a great vibe. Tomorrow the bike course, which is run like a sportive, so you get to draft, and it's pretty fast. It's hilly, it's hard, and then the atmosphere on the marathon is simply superb. Tenby gets behind it. I just can't recommend it enough.
On the men's side, the defending champion is back. He comes from Stockholm. He can swim okay, but he's great on the bike and he'll survive the run. Markus Hultgren, who took the title last year, can he do it again in 2017? His experience should be invaluable.
This year I'm invited again to defend the title, and you always want to be back at least once to defend the title. It's so nice to come back to the town. Actually, people recognize me, and you know, I recognize the town and the course, so it's really nice to be back. First year, everything is new, but now it feels like I know this race. But everything can happen, so I guess I'm gonna learn new stuff this time.
Everyone here knows Ollie Simon. He's a past winner, he's a local star, he's a very good swimmer and always in contention after day one. What has he got planned for this year? The RNLI on hand, one of the busiest stations in the UK. Hopefully they won't have too much work to do. 8,500 athletes involved in this weekend. 2.4 miles, remember. It will take the best around 50 minutes. That's 1:10, 1:15 per 100 metres. It's a phenomenal pace, and in these conditions, the times should be a lot quicker than last year. Lots of razzmatazz to get the swim underway and build the atmosphere here in Tenby. Now remember, those doing the long course weekend all wearing yellow hats, and so any of those up front are doing exceptionally well. Ollie Simon should be up with the leaders. That's Ollie Signorini, who's originally from Zimbabwe, moved to Australia at the age of 5. Phenomenal swimmer. He's setting the pace. There's Ollie Simon in the yellow cap, trying to get as much of a lead over Markus Hultgren as he can. The Swede will have to use the faster swimmers if he's going to stay competitive in stage one.
The currents in the start, I would say I'm really going to try to stay on some fast guys, because I mean the swim is for a lot of swimmers as well. So it's going to be a swim group, and it's going to be a triathlete group, and it's going to be a long course age group. So the first leg is going to give me much if I can just stay on them in the beginning.
And if he can stay within a couple of minutes of Ollie Simon, he'll have done very well. Well, this is an event that is certainly growing. The numbers of athletes are up, the number of nationalities is up, and the race organisers responding by making this a worldwide event.
Got 8,500 athletes this year, which is a significant increase on last year. And of course, we've just started launching long course weekends all over the world. So we've got one in Sydney in October and Mallorca in November this year.
The pace very different for some of those on the 1.2 mile course, but it's not for Ollie Signorini. He has flown round the first loop, round the Australian exit, and still he keeps pushing the pace. He's only 20, as I mentioned, originally from Zimbabwe. He's got a South African father, a Scottish mother, and he is taking the long distance swimming world by storm. Out come the two leading women, Jazz Carlin alongside Sophie Evans, and they're only 2 minutes or so off Signorini. And there's the first yellow cap, and it belongs, of course, to Ollie Simon. What a great swim he's had so far. I wonder how he's going to do this year, of course. Multiple winner of this event. Here comes Markus Hultgren. 25.21 his time for the first lap. That puts him 1:51 down on Ollie Simon. So a bit of work to do, but not a bad swim for the Swede, the defending champion. Now, these sort of events aren't just about the elite athletes. There are plenty of fascinating human stories out there, people who've been working for years and years to achieve this sort of a feat. And perhaps Dave Fletcher is the best example.
I'll get there. One lap down, one more to go, mate. Just having a bit of a breather.
Now, David has been diagnosed with cancer on no less than 5 occasions. He was going to race last year, but he couldn't get out of his bed. He was so ill. His doctors said he shouldn't do it, They said he couldn't do it, but here he is, halfway through the first phase.
My last operation was in October, and I've just tried to make this event. This was my aim, just to get fit for this. My doctors and my nurses laughed and said it was impossible, and I said it's not. I've recovered before and I will recover again. So yeah, I've now got Dave 5 times cancer survivor on the top, which gets a bit of a cheer, you know, when you run around the corner and they see that. Pretty proud.
He and his wife Angie have made this their #1 priority in between their stays in hospital. So we wish him well. Swimmers completing the 1.2 mile swim, an event won by Rosie Llewellyn and Owen Thomas. But the Wales swim champion for 2017, no surprises. It's Ollie Signorini, another dominant swim from him.
I thought might as well just go from the start, and I put a real big burst into the first can and managed to put a big enough gap into the second, and we kind of held that the whole way. He was taking me back that second lap, but yeah, it was a good swim.
Popasev getting second, only 25 seconds back. Jazz Carlin taking the win in the women's.
It was really great to get in there with the pack, and obviously it was a really great race, and it was nice to have a bit of a tussle with some of the boys.
And Ollie Simon, once again, the leading long course weekend athlete after the swim.
Really happy. It was nice to stay on some of the boys' feet, and a nice little group of us going out there on the second lap, so I was happy to stay in, and it made the time go a bit quicker. Really calm out there, so it was a nice swim.
So here are the standings. 47.22, the winning time from Ollie Simon. Hughes Thomas making up the top 3. Markus Hultgren, the defending champion, 3 minutes 20 behind. Lots of work to do on the bike. In the women's long course weekend, it's Kelly Stokes, 30 seconds clear of her nearest rival, Fionn Davis.
I know it's the fastest I've ever swum, so yeah, I'm really pleased with the time. But yeah, I have no idea of position. There seemed to be so many people ahead of me, but I was just like, hang on to some feet and just, yeah, go as high as I could, really.
So great swim from Kelly Stokes, putting herself in pole position going into phase 2. Looking further down the order, Parris Edwards, one of the favourites, 2:42 behind. Lucy Gossage, 3:12, although she's unlikely to race on the final day. What an occasion.
Just great atmosphere, brilliant. It was good, tough around the first boy, real tough, but I've done it.
And here comes David Fletcher. As well as his battles with cancer, he's got a real fear of choppy water, so he'll be delighted to get this first phase completed. Well done to him.
I'm just overwhelmed. I can't believe I've done it. I've been waiting 2 years for this, and it's a great start to the weekend. Can't wait for tomorrow now.
1 down, 2 to go. What an inspiration.
Well, the last few swimmers are just coming over the line now, and as ever, Tenby has enjoyed this first stage of the long course weekend. Stage 2, though, tomorrow, we'll see athletes taking on a grand tour of the Pembrokeshire Coast National Park. And of course, those hardy long weekenders will be joined by thousands more in the Wales Sportive. We'll see you soon. Welcome back to the Triathlon Guard long course weekend, stage 2. The 112-mile Wales Sportive. Here's Patrick Winterton with the details.
4,375 entries for the Wales Sportive this year. A lot of bike.
Looking forward to it. It's going to be hard.
Well, there's a mixture of enthusiasm and nerves.
Bottle rocket, so we're expecting you to be pretty fast out there.
Well, you can expect all you like, but it won't be the case. I'll get to the end eventually, yeah.
So, Pencoed Tri Club, you're the local boys. How are you feeling about this?
A bit nervous, but apprehensive. Plenty to big hills out there to worry about.
Dave Fletcher, who's defied the doctors by getting this far, 1:15.39 in the swim. He'll be further up the rankings in the bike. And he's alongside Richie Gardner, who's a potential winner of this event, and hopefully giving Dave Fletcher a few tips for the day.
I'm really looking forward to today, see how I get on. Like last week I was in Mallorca for a week training in the mountains, so I've had really good preparation for the cycling. And I'm all right about the run. It was just the swim yesterday, so I'm looking forward to the bike, smashing the bike today.
Well, let's hope he does just that. Let's have a look at the course. 112 miles. They start in Tenby, they head west towards Pembroke. And once through Pembroke, they'll drop down to Freshwater West, a stiff climb after they've been past the beach. And then a U-turn, which sends them back towards Tenby. Carew Castle, that will be enjoyed by those going at a leisurely pace. North to Narberth, and then two brutal climbs, one after Wiseman's Bridge, the other after Saunders Foot, where the king and queen of the hill will be crowned. And they go twice round that northeastern loop to make up the distance. Richie Gardner, 24th after the swim. He'll improve on the bike, and he's undoubtedly the best runner in the field, so exciting times for him. David Fletcher just getting underway on phase 2. We'll keep an eye on him. Now, the best from the swim go down the ramp, plus two legends, Steve Rogers, Nicky Rees. They've entered every single long course weekend and certainly deserve their moment in the highlight, and they'll enjoy their bike ride. Markus Hultgren, the defending champion, and he started well. His swim 10 minutes quicker than he was last year.
As I said before, the strong age groupers, and this race is good for people who train a lot and are serious about the triathlon, so you never know after the day.
Hultgren now lying in 6th as Ollie Simon has decided not to complete the long course weekend, although he will ride today. He won't run tomorrow. Parris Edwards, she's had real health problems over the last year with Lyme's disease. Very much on the comeback trail.
I have to admit, I'm a little bit undercooked on training for the bike and run, so today's a big training day for me, and I think the last 50k are gonna hurt.
Some training. It would be nice to see her somewhere near her best. She's got so much potential. 41 years old now, former hockey player. Elliot Dudley getting underway. Did his first Ironman hit, went straight from the finish line to hospital. Kelly Stokes has had her time with the doctors as well, 9 knee operations. Well, this is what the riders have got coming up. Freshwater West, probably the first stiff test as they work their way up through the dunes. And then they head back east, Carew Castle. Many of the riders will be oblivious to this, but it's great for the spectators. And then, of course, the big climb, Saunders Foot. And this is where the title of King and Queen of the Hill will be decided twice round. Nicky Rees and Steve Rogers, the long course weekend legends, with no plans to give up quite yet.
Just loving it, absolutely loving it. Less weather, no wind, no rain. You do know that this being our 8th, if he gives up, I'll give up.
I won't give up.
He wants to go 10. So if my wife's watching, really sorry, we've got to go to 10.
Supportive families, essential if you're going to partake in this sort of activity. Now, Markus Hultgren, how's he getting on? 6th now after the swim, and setting a fair pace on the bike. And he was quicker in the water. Looks as though he's quicker on the road already than he was last year, but the conditions much better this time round.
When I do Ironman, I hold back a little bit, maybe say 75%, but here I try to just go all I have. I mean, I'm gonna have about 20 hours to recover after the bike ride, so if I could earn 5 minutes on the bike, I mean, pushing a little bit harder in the end or in the middle, 5 minutes on the run, that's a lot.
And he seems to be doing just that. He's already opened up a decent gap over Richie Gardner. Elliot Dudley also losing time to Hultgren, but lying in 4th position after the swim, so he'll be hoping for a podium finish come the end of the race. He's got a 3:15 marathon as well, Dudley, and certainly looks better than he did back in 2014.
I'm not an amazing cyclist, I'm a strong cyclist, and I'm kind of even across all 3 disciplines. I'm hoping over the course of the weekend it'll work out. But, you know, there's some big dogs up there as well. You know, Markus won last year and did probably one of the fastest bike splits anyone's ever done on this course. So if I can get sort of knock 15, 20 minutes off that time, I'd be happy.
Well, this is Kelly Stokes, who was the fastest woman in the water yesterday. She's not bad on the bike, but the run is where she tends to struggle. So this event is going to get harder and harder as the days go on. Still has a beaming smile on her face, and part of that is due to the scenery that they're riding through. It is absolutely stunning, and perhaps Freshwater West the highlight. And after the pleasure comes the pain. It's a big, big climb out of Freshwater West, and for those who have a big, big frame, it's hard work. Five and a half hours expected for the fastest riders. Some will take around 10.5. Here's David Fletcher. He said he was going to put the hammer down, and he seems to be doing just that. 5 times diagnosed with cancer, 5 times he's been given the all clear.
For the last 12 weeks, I haven't seen the misses. I've just really put everything into it as much as I can. I'm just going to go for it. I'm not going to have anything left at the end.
Thanks to his wife Angie, he's had nothing to think about but training. Here's Rebecca Bennett, 3rd position after the swim. She's being caught by a group of riders, in which is Lucy Gossage. Now, Lucy Gossage is doing the ride. She's only going to do the half marathon tomorrow, so no longer part of the long course weekend. Parris Edwards behind her is very much in contention in the long course weekend. And working with Lucy Gossage, that was a pre-race plan. And Edwards, as we mentioned earlier, pretty much on a comeback. So it's experimental, it's training, but she may well win this event because she's covering the ground at some pace. Carew Castle, one of the highlights of the bike ride. And in these conditions, it is absolutely stunning. There goes Markus Hultgren. He's not hanging around. He's absolutely flying. He's looking for an even faster time than he got last year. And by my unofficial timing, he's a couple of minutes up on last year's performance. Through Wiseman's Bridge, he knows there's a climb coming, and it's not long before he'll be at Saundersfoot. I don't think we're going to see him going for the King of the Hill. This is it, always well supported. The Samba bands are out. And certainly one of the most memorable parts of the course. There's the Rocket Man, or the Bottle Rocket, Paul Phillips in the Technicolor shirt, doing well on his first ascent. Everyone's game raised just that little bit, and the Samba certainly helping. Now here comes Markus Hultgren, and he's making good ground. He's on his 2nd ascent of Saundersfoot and overtaking some of the athletes who are still on their first loop. The marathon tomorrow, he needs to save something, but he won't hold back on the bike ride. Parris Edwards still with Lucy Gossage, but she's put in a big burst, going for the King of the Hill, it seems. Gossage struggling to stay with her on this occasion. But I think once they reach the top, it will be Gossage back out front, doing most of the work. Hultgren's had precious little company on this race, and drafting is permitted, unlike many of the long-distance races. And here's the top women's duo, Gossage and Edwards, both looking strong. Now we're expecting Chris Holman and Ollie Simon in. Here is Chris Holman across the line in just over 5:10. That may well be the fastest time of the day. Ollie Simon, what a shame he's not going to do the run, because he's in a very strong position after that performance.
Got a little injury that I picked up over the winter, and it hasn't really gone, and a marathon is something that you can't really hide from, so I couldn't even take it easy and finish, so I'm not be running tomorrow.
So that opens the door for Hultgren and Gardner, and of course Philip Tucker, who's had a good ride. 5:17.
A bit hard at the start, cramped a bit at the end as well. So I had to walk up Wiseman's Bridge. I was a bit embarrassed about that, but when you cramp, you can't do anything about it, so I just had to get off and walk up, just survive the last 10 miles.
Well, I wonder just how quick Tucker would have been if he hadn't got cramped. Now, here comes Markus Hultgren. He's about 15 minutes clear of everyone else. That's a tremendous ride. One phase still to go for the defending champion. It's all looking good.
How are you feeling? That was amazing.
Oh yeah, now a couple of minutes after it's nice, but that was really tough. The last 20k was killing me. Obviously, I mean, I was 6 minutes faster than last year, so someone has to push really good to beat it, so I know I did.
So Hultgren now on top of the standings, 6:04.31 his total time. Tucker, Chapman, Kirkham all have a chance of winning because so much can happen on the marathon, so much can go wrong on the marathon. And don't forget Richie Gardner, just over 40 minutes behind. He's still a threat because he's such a good runner. Lucy Gossage and Parris Edwards coming into the finish. Gossage withdrawing from long course weekends, so her time irrelevant. Parris Edwards, 5:47.20.
Hopefully build up a little bit of a buffer. I'll take a look at the time gaps tonight and then I can see what I have to do on the run tomorrow.
Kelly Stokes, first out of the water yesterday. She's had a good ride.
Have you thought about the marathon yet?
Every time my legs were hurting, I thought about the marathon. I was like, do not think about the marathon. I was like, blank it out, yeah. I am not built for running. Yeah, I'll just do what I can tomorrow, yeah.
Anything under 4 hours would be a bonus for Stokes on the run. In comes Rebecca Bennett. Now, she was third out of the water, currently lying fourth, but we know Gossage isn't going to do the full marathon tomorrow, so effectively she moves up a slot, as does Kelly Stokes, and the margin between Edwards and Stokes, 15 minutes. It's a fabulous atmosphere that Tenby generate year after year. And I dare say a lot of the youngsters watching this will become triathletes at some stage. It doesn't matter how good or how bad, the boost comes from taking part.
I came down here as a spectator last year and it was a cauldron and I just got totally inspired and I thought 1,000,000% I'm going to come and give that a try. The crowds are amazing, the route is great and you know it's just a great place to be.
David Morris, not the only one to have a tear in his eye after that effort.
I never thought I'd do it, but what a buzz. Yes, yes, yes.
Fantastic. And any moment now, we're expecting David Fletcher. He's going to be just over 6 hours 12. His family, the Barracuda Tri Club, are going to be very proud of this performance.
After the last 2 days, it's just, I can't believe what's happening. I put that much effort in there. If you put it in, you get it out, don't you? This is the big event, this. Look at it here. It's just amazing. It's just fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I can't wait for tomorrow now. Can't wait for tomorrow.
Great effort by David Fletcher.
Amazing effort from the sportive riders as well as those long course weekend athletes, and they are going to have to rest up because tomorrow is the third and final stage of their endurance challenge, the Wales Marathon. The course is historic, it's beautiful, but it is very hilly.
Welcome back to the Triathlon Guard long course weekend where thousands of runners are lining up here in Tenby for the final stage, the Wales Marathon. Let's join your commentator Patrick Winterton to see what's ahead of them.
26 miles to be precise for those doing the marathon. There is a half marathon, a 10 and a 5k for those not wanting to go the full distance. It all starts in Tudor Square. The roads are closed to traffic, but it's a very tough course indeed. Parris Edwards leads the standings after 2 events, 6:45.12. Stokes Bennett in second and third. Everyone moving up a slot with the withdrawal of Lucy Gossage. And Natasha Lewis, whose husband Nathan's actually racing as well, she moves in to the top 10.
What will it mean for you to be in the top 10 at the end of this amazing weekend?
Oh my God, I'd be over the moon because it's not something I'd ever imagine somebody like me do because I'm not part of a triathlon club, I train on my own.
And she has that problem of combining work, family and training. Edward Clements is in the same boat.
I'm a busy man, I'm a dairy farmer at home, so it's hard to find the time to do the training, but I managed to fit it in, and pretty much my life at the moment is triathlon and farming, and there's a bit of spare time for the girlfriend.
David Fletcher, of course, we've been following all the way through. Thanks to his team and his drive, he's so close to achieving his goal.
Every time I see you, you seem stronger and fresher. How are you doing this?
I don't know. Adrenaline and determination.
You've done an amazing swim, you've done a sensational bike yesterday, and you're well up for this marathon. You must be so pleased.
I am, yeah. When I was in hospital, the older patients was round me and I was telling them what I was doing and the doctors were like, you can't do it. I said to the patients, I said, I'll give you some hope, guys, I'll do this. And that's been one of my mottos, I've got to give others hope.
Jill Cliff on the left of your picture, 48-year-old from Deal in Kent, a PB of 2:59. Parris Edwards on the right leads the women's. She doesn't have a PB, but she does have a 15-minute lead.
How are you feeling about this marathon then?
I'm so excited. Little confession, this is my first full marathon, so I'm just looking forward to it. I was strategic yesterday, tried to save my legs, I'm feeling good. So clever pacing today, hopefully it goes to plan.
Cliff lost 2 minutes in the water, she lost 33 minutes on the bike. She's got to have a big run, but she knows just how tough it is after doing 112 miles on the bike the day before.
Last year I ran, well for me really well, I did 3:16, so I'd love to do that again, but I'm not sure whether I will. But after the bike ride I was really pleased with that, so yeah, we'll see how it goes.
As for the men, Markus Hultgren 50 minutes 13 clear of Philip Tucker, but there's plenty of danger from behind. Tucker can run a bit, Wilson, Gardner, both very quick. Anderton, who's down in 6th, he's sharp as well. Philip Tucker has to hope that he doesn't cramp up again today if he's going to be competitive. He'll get a huge amount of support being Welsh.
Such a great event, and support is fantastic as well, so yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a tough day. I think it's quite warm as well.
Markus Hultgren, he was hoping for a 5-minute lead after the bike ride. He's got 15. No wonder he can afford to look relaxed. Would have had a good look at the standings last night.
The guy who's second, he has about the same gap as last year to Ollie, so he maybe want to go for it.
And Richie Gardner will certainly want to go for it. Number 286, just over 40 minutes to make up. He's an outstanding runner, a Commonwealth Games gold to his name, and he's certainly capable of running under 2:45. Let's have a look at the map. Once again, starting in Tenby, and they work their way west along the Ridgeway, then through Stevens Green at 8.5 miles. The half distance comes at Pembroke, and that's when the half marathon runners will join the affair, starting just after the marathon runners have been through. And then, of course, the U-turn, and they head back to home. Manorbier Castle, one of the visual highlights on the course. But once they reach Tenby, they are going to be some very, very relieved runners indeed.
4, 3, 2.
Watches at the ready. Away they go. Number 1, of course, is Markus Hultgren. Richie Gardner straight into the lead. He desperately wants to win this one, having been pipped into 2nd place in the last 2 events here. He's certainly in a class of his own in terms of running, and considering he did 112 miles on the bike yesterday, he looks very fluent already. Number 54, that's Wayne Benger. He's a local man from Tenby Aces. I think he's going for his moment of glory. I wonder how long he's going to hang on in there in 2nd place. And Markus Hultgren sitting around 4th or 5th at the moment. You can see Elliot Dudley with the orange glasses and the baseball cap. And after a few more corners, I suspect Gardner is going to be out of sight of most of the field. He knows this route like the back of his hand. Elliot Dudley. And there's David Fletcher. He started with the big boys and full of smiles at the moment. Number 4 is Jill Cliff, position number 5, and just behind her, sitting on her shoulder, Parris Edwards, the leader of the women's event. Both of them are aiming for around 3 hours 15. Well, there's always someone in fancy dress. It doesn't make the 26 miles any easier. So focused, and already 38 seconds clear of Markus Hultgren. And Gardner, remember, chasing down a deficit of just over 40 minutes. Jill Cliff needs to gain a similar amount on Parris Edwards. Andy Pearce, 569 from Cardiff Tri Club, running alongside them. Well, even in the early stages, the ups and downs of this course are felt. Initially, the uphills are the hard bit, but it's the downhills that do the damage to the legs. Hultgren, not really built for running. He's a powerhouse of a man, and that's why his cycling is so good. Matt Price goes ahead of Hultgren. He's a sub 3 hour man, and if he can do that today, he's certainly going to go rocketing up the rankings. Michael Bryant just behind them. Now, Parris Edwards, just checking the clock. She knows how important it is to get the pacing right. She has no experience at this distance.
Unfortunately, I've never done the full long course weekend the last 2 years running due to injury, so I'm hoping to actually do the full course this year. And then the marathon, I'm only just back in training, so I'm going to try and go steady, somewhere between 3:15 and 3:30 for the full.
Well, when it comes to the steep uphills, Parris Edwards shows just how strong she is. We saw that on the bike yesterday when she was riding with Lucy Gossage. Jill Cliff losing a bit of time, but no need to panic.
Well, the trick is not to go too hard, because there's no way you can run like a normal marathon, you know, after yesterday's bike ride. So you've got to sort of hold yourself back a bit at the start, and then you see how you go and work your way into it, really. But keep her pace going the whole way.
Well, that's certainly a good tactic. And she's got to hope that Parris Edwards hits a big wall at some stage. There is, of course, that possibility with the health problems that Edwards has had over recent months.
About a minute quicker through 10k than I planned, so trying to keep steady. Just got to keep doing what I'm doing.
Well, if she keeps going at this pace, she's going to come in at around 3 hours 10. And remember, she had a 15-minute lead over everyone at the start of the marathon. I cannot see her being beaten if she achieves that. And that will be some comeback for Parris Edwards. Well, they won't all make the headlines, but there have been some phenomenal efforts going on out on the course. Elliot Dudley, very upright running stance. Again, good cyclist. And when you have cyclist legs, running not that easy. David Fletcher, the perfect build.
How's your body holding up?
I'm all right at the moment. Just trying to pace it to see how long I can last before it starts breaking down, bit by bit. That's when the fun begins.
Thinking about what position I was in last year when I couldn't even move on my sick bed. Now, yeah, that's what's getting me around. When I have to dig in deep, I know I've digged in harder than ever before, like, you know. So I'm positive. Yeah, it's an hard course, I know it is. Fingers crossed I can get round.
And if he does so, he is going to get some reception when he gets back to Tenby. 8 miles the Ridgeway. Hultgren losing a lot of time, a lot of ground to Richie Gardner. 5:13 currently the margin between them. But even with that margin, Hultgren is safe as the leader of the long course weekend. But from 8 miles on, it just gets harder and harder. 3 big climbs, and they come at around 10, and then there's another huge climb at 20 miles, just when most people are hitting the wall. It's a brutal course.
Welcome back to Wales for the Triathlon Guard long course weekend. As we've seen over the last few days, Pembrokeshire has to be one of the most scenic swim bike run settings in the world, and nothing shows us off more than Manorbier Castle. It's just one of many magnificent sights that athletes are treated to on this run course. But how they cope with the hills around here, coming at the crucial 20-mile mark, could decide the outcome of everyone's race.
Well, it certainly could, and Richie Gardner is now approaching the halfway stage. He's built a lead of 8 minutes already over Markus Hultgren, the leader of the long course weekend, but he needs to increase that threefold if he's going to challenge for the win. The halfway mark is at Pembroke Castle, and that, of course, the start of the half marathon as well. Richie Gardner going through halfway, 1:20.40, so he's on schedule for something like 2:43, 2:45, bearing in mind the hills that come in the latter part, maybe just a little longer than that. And here are those half marathon runners waiting to go, giving the marathon runners a huge cheer as they come through. What a boost. Well, that will make them feel good for the next couple of miles, but reality will strike as they approach the end. The remaining two legends, Steve Rogers and Nicky Rees, still going in long course weekend number 8. So good to see fellow athletes out on the course supporting. A lot of those who rode the Sportif yesterday have come back to support the marathon runners today. No one can catch this man. Richie Gardner, with 20 miles gone, is on his own as he approaches Manabir Castle. Some really stiff climbs at this stage. This is going to be the crunch for so many runners. Doesn't look as though Gardner's going to have any problems. He's got a 22-minute lead over Markus Hultgren. Hultgren, a 43-minute lead over Gardner at the start of today. He was never going to lose that, provided he could keep running, and he's doing just that. He's a big man for this sort of an event. Hultgren passing a lot of fans and a lot of people who are just about to start the 10K race back to Tenby. The sunshine has played its part this weekend. Certainly the conditions are a whole lot better than last year, and what an atmosphere it's created. It's great to watch, it's great to take part, and I think Hultgren will be enjoying the occasion now. 23 miles completed, 26.2 of course the total distance. Dan Waite's just behind him, who was what, 6:11 on the bike, so I think a top 20 is an ambitious target for him. As for Richie Gardner, it's been a smooth, eventless run. He's looking just as good as he did 26 miles ago. He's on schedule for something like 2:45. Fantastic. Picks up the pace as he hits the red carpet. Year after year, his swimming and cycling get better. His run is as good as it's ever been. Fantastic performance.
I might be 44, but my game is running, that's what I was. So I thought, well, the least I can do is win the marathon and see what happens after that. I won the marathon, which I was really pleased about. I'm thinking I might have made second place as well, so I got to be happy with that.
And here comes the man who's going to take the long course weekend title for 2017, just as he did last year. And it was his cycling prowess that won him the title last year. It's been pretty much the same story. 25 minutes or so slower than Gardner on the marathon, but he took 58 minutes off the Welshman in the bike yesterday, and he's still got a margin of some 18 minutes. He'll have known that victory was coming his way for a while, but he'll still appreciate this fantastic support in Tenby, and he soaks it up all the way to the line. Markus Hultgren, double long course weekend champion.
How does it feel to be back-to-back winner?
It's really nice. Even if I know I had some minutes, but you know, like when it's tough out there, you have your doubts, and you think like, oh, he's gonna come here now, 3:30 pace, he has crushed me, but it's amazing to race her.
And here comes Parris Edwards to claim the women's title. It's been a hard year, one in which she thought she was going to have to give up the sport. She had so many health problems, but she's come back with a fantastic run, 3:17.
The support on the course was amazing, thanks to the volunteers and the marshals and the crowd. Honestly, they looked at me so many times. There's very little that parallels this event in terms of spirit. It's really special.
Jill Cliff couldn't quite match the 3:15 she did last year, but it's a fine performance. She's gone from 5th all the way up into 2nd. Well, let's have a look at the men's standings. Hultgren, Gardner, Wilson, the 1, 2, 3. Tucker just off the podium with Daniel Anderton. Both of those two had a great run. In the women's, Parris Edwards, a whopping 46 minutes clear. Jill Cliff, as we mentioned, moving up into 2nd place. So a fine finish to the weekend for her. There have been some 8,500 people competing over this weekend, and one man above all others deserves a mention. David Fletcher, 5 times diagnosed with cancer, hundreds of times told he couldn't possibly do this event.
How are you feeling then? You must be so happy.
I'm buzzing. I've done it, and I proved all the doubters wrong. I've given everybody hope. Perfect.
Proud of you, Dad?
He's amazing. It's just incredible, and I can't believe he's done it.
It was so hard, that man. Brilliant. What a great event.
Surely you've now earned yourself a rest.
I think I have, haven't I?
Memorable, memorable stuff here in Tenby.
It's been amazing. The supporters, absolutely fantastic.
So close to tears all the way around. People are so enthusiastic, even on the bike yesterday. It's just incredible. I'll be back here next year for sure.
It's been a big family weekend, brilliant.
It's recommended to anybody. Maybe not the fancy dress, but I recommend it to anybody. It's fantastic.
From its humble beginnings, the long course weekend has become a must-do.
We started year one, 35 athletes going for the long course medal, and we ended up with 13. I think it's about 900 runners over there, and cyclists and swimmers in total over the weekend. This weekend we came in at 8,500, just over 8,500 athletes, and we cap our long course weekend athletes now at 1,000. I think we have 599 left going into run day, so it's tough.
And how about these two? Steve Rogers, Nikki Rees, awarded their Legend Star on top of the 4 medals that all the competitors get for completing the long course weekend. Every one of these competitors has completed the Wales Swim, the Wales Sportif and the Wales Marathon, and now it's time for all of them to get their moment in the spotlight. Their name called out as they come up and complete the set with the long course weekend finishers medal, and a photo with the 2 legends who were there at the very beginning.
I think we've been very conscious for the last sort of 6-7 years really of making sure that intimacy stayed. And it is quite unique that it brings the swimmers, the cyclists, the runners and the triathletes sort of all together in one place. And I think it's the coming together of probably local businesses, the venue, the stunning scenery, the supporters, and the athletes themselves, because the venue itself is just, it's holiday mode anyway, isn't it? So I think when you put all that into one jug and put the blender on it, it comes out quite nice.
Well, it certainly has done this year. Rebecca Bennett delighted with her 3rd place. Jill Cliff had a great run to get herself all the way up into 2nd. In the men's race, Philip Wilson taking 3rd. 2nd went to Richie Gardner, 19th to 2nd on the run alone. What a performance. And Parris Edwards, the women's champion. Sweden's Markus Hultgren came to defend his title, and he did exactly that. Let's hope he goes for 3 out of 3 next year.
Well, that's it for Long Course 2017. Incredible performances from Parris Edwards and Markus Hultgren to take the titles. And with thousands and thousands of others playing their part too, it's been a truly unforgettable weekend of sport here in Tenby. We'll see you next time.